What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, May 16th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:45 Eastern Time here in the United States. I wanted to update you with all the latest breaking news from around the world. Wanted to also give you a quick channel update. So for those of you guys who are not aware, I got married last weekend. So I haven't been posting as much this past week, trying to just soak it in and enjoy this time in my life. But I will return to a more normal schedule next week starting Monday with more regular updates and regular streams. But I want to just show you guys some high priority reconnaissance planes that are up in the air right now. We have a large number of U.S. military reconnaissance planes leaving Strategic Command Headquarters at Offutt Air Base. So here you can see two high priority reconnaissance planes with call signs Cobra 49 and Cobra 47. There's only two of these planes in the entire U.S. military, and they're both airborne right now, basically flying right behind each other, leaving Offutt Air Base not too long ago. And these planes send intelligence directly to the president and our top generals. So I don't know where they're going, but this could be potentially related to round two of strikes on Iran. And in addition to these two high priority reconnaissance planes, the Combat Sentinels, we also have a variety of other reconnaissance planes. Look at this. We got three other reconnaissance planes now taking off from Offutt Air Base. This is extremely unusual. So a total of 5 reconnaissance planes leaving Offutt Air Base. We also have a U.S. government VIP plane that just left D.C. and is now flying over Missouri. We also just had a nuclear war command and control plane off the coast of Delaware. So something is going on. We have a massive amount of Recon planes leaving Offutt Air Base. Looks like we also have a nuke sniffer that just left Offutt Air Base. So a nuke sniffer, 2 Combat Sentinel high priority reconnaissance planes, and then 3 other reconnaissance planes. That is extremely unusual. And CNN is reporting that U.S. and Israeli military officials are preparing for possible strikes on Iran as early as next week. So when that happens, I will be covering it live. And the New York Times is reporting that Trump's top military aides have drafted plans for a return to military strikes if Trump decides to try to break the impasse with Iran with more bombs. The Pentagon is planning for the possibility that Operation Epic Fury, which was paused when the president declared a ceasefire last month, will pick up again in the coming days, even if under a new name. Several hundred special operations forces arrived in the Middle East in March in a deployment meant to give Trump that option, officials said. As specialized ground troops, they could be used in a mission aimed at Iran's highly enriched uranium at the Isfahan nuclear site. But such an operation would also need thousands of support troops who would likely form a security perimeter and could be drawn into combat with Iranian troops. U.S. officials said if Trump decides to resume military strikes, options include more aggressive bombing runs at Iranian military and infrastructure targets. So very, very interesting. And CNN is reporting that U.S. officials suspect Iranian hackers are behind a series of breaches of systems that monitor the amount of fuel in storage tanks serving fuel stations in multiple states. The hackers responsible have exploited automatic tank gauge systems that were sitting online and unprotected by passwords, allowing them in some cases to tinker with display readings on the tanks, but not the actual levels of fuel in them. So very concerning. And the Russian President Vladimir Putin will be meeting with Xi Jinping next Wednesday, literally a week after Trump met with Xi Jinping. So what did they talk about? That's the big thing. What were they talking about, and why is Putin now suddenly going to China right after Trump? And the CDC has tightened home monitoring guidance for high-risk hantavirus contacts, instructing them to stay home and limit contact with others. Wow, so we're going to be monitoring the hantavirus situation, and I will be updating you guys accordingly. And the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, is warning of a possible new Russian offensive from Belarus. The Ukrainian president stated yesterday that Russia is actively trying to pull Belarus into the war and is preparing new offensive operations from Belarusian territory. According to Zelensky, Russia is considering strikes either towards the Chernihiv-Kyiv direction in Ukraine or against a NATO country, using Belarus as a launch pad. He said, quote, "We have details of the conversations between Russia and Lukashenko." Zelensky emphasized that Ukraine is ready to respond decisively and has already ordered the defense forces to strengthen the northern border. So they're worried that Russia and Belarus could attack Ukraine from the north again near Chernobyl and try to come down towards the capital, or attack a NATO country like Lithuania or some of the Baltic countries. Very concerning. And CIA Director John Ratcliffe took part in a meeting in Havana, Cuba on Thursday with Cuban officials. This was the first time a CIA director visited Cuba since 1953. That is just absolutely insane. And the United Arab Emirates said on Friday that they retain the right to defend themselves against Iran after accusing Iran of carrying out more than 3,000 missile and drone attacks on them since February 28th. So the UAE is still pissed off. They haven't forgotten about what Iran did. And Iran seized the Honduran-flagged Huchuan, a floating armory that supplied weapons to security firms conducting anti-piracy operations in the Persian Gulf. The vessel was off the coast of Fujairah when it was reportedly seized by unauthorized personnel while at anchor, according to the British Maritime Trade Organization. The ship is currently in Iranian territorial waters. Wow, that is a very bold move by Iran. And Cuban authorities have announced that there is absolutely no fuel left in the country, and they have cut power to the country's eastern provinces indefinitely. The capital, Havana, has been under a continuous blackout for 24 hours, although authorities claim they are rationing power. New protests have been recorded as Cuban authorities describe the situation as critical. Wow. Okay, so they have a fuel shortage. There's no fuel left in Cuba, and the CIA director has arrived. Maybe they're going to cut some kind of deal so they can get some fuel back. We'll have to wait and see. And an IED, improvised explosive device, was found underwater at a reservoir dam in Mobile, Alabama, and later detonated by bomb technicians. Wow, that's pretty concerning. Wow, very, very concerning news there. And Trump invited Xi Jinping to visit the White House this September, the 24th of September. Wow. And Lithuanian Defense Minister Robertas Kaunas said the U.S. has informed allies of plans to pause troop rotations in Europe while the Pentagon reviews deployment plans. Wow. So that's a big deal, and they just cut the deployment of a brigade combat team that was, I believe, supposed to go to Poland, is what they were saying. About 5,000 troops plus equipment were canceled, but I'm not sure if they were going to go to Poland or Germany. And the U.S. House of Representatives held a vote to decrease annual NATO funding by $480 million from the roughly $750 million that the U.S. contributes to NATO. The vote failed by a wide margin, with only 80 representatives voting yes and 333 voting no. And the U.S. removed weapons-grade uranium from Venezuela in coordination with the UK and the IAEA. Apparently, this weapons-grade uranium was located at the only nuclear reactor in Venezuela, known as the RV-1 reactor. So you see that? Things are popping up that we didn't even know about. Okay, Venezuela had weapons-grade uranium. You know, who knows if they don't have any secret nuclear warheads that they developed or that Russia gave to them. You know, who knows? And an Ebola outbreak has been declared in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 246 cases and 65 deaths. And the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the Chinese Defense Minister Don Jun had a meeting on the sidelines of the Trump and Xi Jinping meetings in China. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with a live update, potentially. If not, I'll just hang out in the live stream with some of you regulars. But until then, tune into my 24/7 live stream. Follow me on Twitter at NYPrepper1. And big thanks to my wonderful moderators who have been doing a fantastic job keeping everybody updated during this period where I had my wedding and I was too busy to post updates. So big thanks to Ross, Deb Thompson, Mozzie Ozzy, all the other wonderful moderators. You guys are awesome. And I appreciate everyone out there who watches my videos every day. That makes a huge difference and keeps the channel running. Even if you don't have the financial means to purchase some products from my sponsors or donate to my channel, just watching my videos, hitting the thumbs up, hyping, leaving a comment, doing that makes a huge difference, and doing it every time I post makes a huge difference. So really appreciate you guys being patient with me during this period in my life, which is, you know, once in a lifetime. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is Matt Hat Jerky. Guys, if you're a beef jerky lover like myself, you got to try Matt Hat Jerky. This is the best beef jerky I've ever had. I personally met the owner of this company at SHOT Show, and he's actually local to Pennsylvania. This company has an interesting story behind it. He founded this company when he was 11 years old. Yeah, that's right, 11 years old. He's now 19, and he makes gourmet beef jerky, the best jerky I've ever had. He's got over a dozen different flavors, and it's all sourced with U.S. beef. So no foreign beef, no nitrates, and no MSG. So it's all natural American beef jerky. And if you use my promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And you got to go to matthatjerky.com. And I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. That's matthatjerky.com. One word, matthatjerky.com. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off your entire order, and the link and the promo code are in the description down below.